Hey, Twisted listeners, I'm Cindy,
And I'm Diva
and this is Twisted Listeners, a podcast about murder.
and Liz.
And we are doing part 2 of self-defense murders, or possibly self-defense murders.
Question
Maybe a
mark? Yeah.
question mark. Yeah.
hmm
The first half was pretty infuriating.
Yes.
So that was cool. We are recording kind of late tonight. Diva had
hmm
a party, and I was listening to Fran Drescher. Now, I don't know if you guys know
mm
this. She
From
is
the
the
nanny.
president. She's the president of SAG-AFTRA.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't get the connection there. Yeah.
Yeah, and they just went on strike. Um, so the Writers Guild went on strike, and now SAG-AFTRA is on strike. And she gave this incredible speech.
Wow.
And basically what she said was communism, communism, communism. I don't know that she knew that, but she
Yeah,
was like,
yeah.
we are labor and we stand tall
But
and
pretty
you
much that.
cannot. Yeah, it was absolutely amazing. I got
That's awesome.
choked up, I got teary-eyed, I watched it twice.
Mm.
Really unbelievable. So everybody go watch that. And please support your union friends if you have friends that are on strike. Bring
hmm
them some food, give them a foot rub, tell them how much you support them. Do whatever you need to do because this affects all of us. We are the labor, and if we let ourselves be exploited, the people who are exploiting us aren't going to stop. They're not going to stop on their own. They're not going to suddenly give a shit.
Yeah.
They're going to continue to hoard wealth. So I'm sorry, I just had to bring that up because it was so
Mhm.
inspiring and fucking cool.
Yeah. I live right next to the Writers Guild of America building, and they've had strikes right down my street and in my work at my work, and like so it's been right in our backyard. So
Yeah.
super supportive of it, and it's a fucking bummer that it's happening, but hey.
Yeah, and to the
Yeah.
execs that were like, we're just gonna wait it out till they're all starving and like lose their apartments, die in a fire. You're garbage. You're
Also,
human fucking garbage.
you're a cartoon villain. Like
Like
you
straight
are.
up, right?
Yeah, that's insane.
Who says shit like that? These people are evil to the fucking core. Money is disgusting. Anyway, there we are. Okay, I just had to say that.
Yeah, yeah.
Any other news? That's two episodes in a row that we've talked about celebrities, but I find this to be much more
Mm,
important, you know.
right.
Yeah. I guess that's it,
What was it
right?
last time? We're talking about Jonah Hill's terrible
Jonah
text last
Hill.
time. Uh,
Yeah, being a butthole. And I tried to feel bad for him for being treated poorly his whole life, but also recognize that like you can be treated poorly and not pay it forward, or you can choose to
yeah, that's also
also
true.
suck. So, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But anyway,
Don't cope with things by becoming a dick.
yeah,
Don't.
don't take it out on other people. Also, like your surfer girlfriend is going to surf and probably wear a bikini. I'm just
Yeah,
saying. And like if
sure.
she's a
She sure is.
fucking
Yeah,
successful babe, you should just feel cool that she wants to hang out with you. So,
yeah,
but she
yeah.
doesn't anymore, so there's that. Okay, should we do the thing?
Let's do it. Yeah, I
All
think
right.
it's you
I
first.
go first. All right.
Yeah.
I'm kind of excited for this. I
Awesome.
am doing the story of Jessica Riggins.
Okay.
This one I need you to weigh in. I need us to
Okay.
talk about it. So I'll tell the story and then we're going to talk about it. This
Okay.
takes place August 2007 in Arizona. Jessica Riggins is a 30-year-old married mother of 5 who's in the middle of a divorce with her estranged husband, Rusty. The two had been married for 3 years after meeting in 2001 at a bar. The marriage was always very rocky, with Jessica suffering abuse at Rusty's hands multiple times. And this is
Okay.
on record. I'm just going to put it out there right now. There is record of this. She actually had Rusty arrested more than once, like 4 or 5 times. And I think
Okay.
he did some time as well for domestic abuse. In fact, I'm sure he did. The two always had a toxic relationship, but still got married and stayed married, obviously, far longer than they should have. And a big part of this was due to Jessica's past and her sort of pattern for relationships. Jessica was in and out of the foster system as a youth, with her mother coming in and out of her life just enough to totally like fuck with her, fuck her up. She actually refused, Jessica did, to be adopted by her foster family because she was
Oh my
holding
gosh.
on hope that her mother would come for her.
Ugh, so sad.
It's really fucking sad. And it's especially sad because that never happened.
Mm.
So when she was 18 or 19, she married her first husband. And this was also a very abusive marriage, but one that produced two children. They divorced when Jessica was like in her mid 20s or late 20s, maybe like 28. And from there, she had a string of bad relationships, resulting in three further children from at least two other fathers.
Okay.
I think. Like, that's what I read. It might be like one other father, but I think it's two. Most of these men
Okay.
also abused her, and one had even killed himself during their relationship. So she
Oh,
obviously, yeah, she just has a way of picking men, which is in no way a judgment of her. It's more just kind of showing the pattern for like,
yeah.
you know, people who are abused choose abusers. It's like a thing. It's a comfort thing. It's a pattern thing. You don't mean to. It just happens.
Well, and they're also more likely to normalize it once it starts happening and, like, instead of kicking someone
Yes.
to the curb right away kind of thing.
Yes. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
So Jessica was a very sassy, very self-sufficient woman in a lot of ways. She always worked. She always took care of her kids. She didn't want them, to go through what happened to her in like the foster system. So it wasn't like she was looking for a man to take care of her. She just wanted a companion. And Jessica didn't ever have trouble finding one because she was really good looking and like,
Yeah.
in a very conventionally pretty way. Now, in her adulthood, she had reconnected with her mother and had told her about the issues she had with Rusty. She told her mom that he would get drunk and beat her and that she would call the police on him often. But she always ended up going back, even after she got a restraining order granted against him at one point. So they always reconciled, and she would tell her mom all about what was going on. So this is just a bad, bad relationship. Lasted about 6 years. Half of them they're married. The kids, three youngish kids in the house having to deal with this. Lots of, he's getting at one point she like locked him out one night and he had to go like stay with a friend. She had him arrested. Really, really fucking bad. So now, like I said, we're in August 2007 in Arizona, and Jessica had actually moved away to the Lake Tahoe area after she had left Rusty. She had divorced him and had moved on and was coming back just to finalize the divorce. She
Okay.
had taken a trip through the Midwest, leaving her three younger daughters with her mother or her sister. I can't remember exactly which one, while she went back to Arizona to kind of tie up these loose ends. So she's like, I don't want to bring the girls with me. I'm just going to go meet up with Rusty, finalize the divorce, get this done. Right. The court date was scheduled for August 6th, and both she and Rusty needed to appear to finalize the divorce.
Okay.
That morning, when the court case was due to happen, neither of them showed. Rusty's mother, with whom he was very close, and I just want to put this out there, I find this woman super annoying, and I'll talk more about it later, and I feel bad saying that because, we all kind of probably know where this is going, but I can't
Mhm.
fucking stand her. So anyway, she called the police and asked that they check on Rusty's house because she went by looking for him, and she noticed that her car, which he had borrowed, was gone, but his house was locked, and this is crazy. She knew something was wrong because his sunglasses were still inside the house. She could see them through the window. And apparently,
Mm,
Rusty was the kind of man who never, ever, ever left home without his sunglasses. So
I
this
often
is,
do, but okay.
yeah, it's a weird thing. It's like his ID or something.
Okay, yeah,
So
people would say that about a purse or something, but
yeah, his sunglasses.
yeah,
So she's like, my car is gone, the doors are locked, and his sunglasses are inside. Something is wrong. And I gotta tell you, like, she wasn't wrong. And it also just
yeah,
kind of goes to show that, like, you if you know someone, if you know the situation, you might pick up on things being wrong more than like a cop would, like
Right,
It's
right.
just interesting how she had that, like, sense. Police arrive, they go into the house through an upstairs window, and pretty immediately they find Rusty dead in his hallway with a bullet wound in his back. He had
Mm,
likely been dead 12 to 24 hours, and they don't know what happened, right? So they start investigating. They quickly find out that Jessica was intending to come over that night to try and reconcile with Rusty. So now
okay,
they think they might have another victim on their hands because she's nowhere to be found and the car's not there. Then, as they start to sort of, suss out what happened with the relationship, why she was in town, they also start to consider that she may be a suspect. They reach out to everybody that Jessica and Rusty knew, and an ex of Jessica's comes forward and says that he actually saw her the day that Rusty was found dead in California. She came to his house in California and told him that she shot and killed Rusty. He urged her to turn herself in. She sounded like she was going to, so he didn't call the police. She's like, yeah, yeah, I'm going to turn myself in. She had actually come
okay.
to his house to give him paperwork so that if she did end up in prison or otherwise, like, somewhere else, he would be able to get custody of the girls. So, she went to him and was like trying to take care of her kids. She was trying to take care of her kids. She
Yeah,
also told him that Rusty had backhanded her. She'd gone over to try to reconcile. It turned into a fight. Rusty backhanded her. She had a gun with her. She took it out and she shot him in self defense. So now cops are looking for her. They think maybe she turned herself in California. That turned out to not be the case. And as it turns out, they get a report that Rusty's mother's car crossed the Mexican border that same day, meaning Jessica
okay,
is now on the lam in Mexico. They went searching for her. They were in touch with Mexican authorities. And a few days later, she just tried to cross back over the border and they nabbed her. And I think
okay,
she
back
kind of
into the
knew.
States.
So she went down for a few
Okay.
days. And I think she was kind of like, what the fuck am I doing? Like,
Yeah,
I, it's not like she knows anybody there. She doesn't have money. So they nab her coming back over the border. Now, here's where things start to get sticky and why I thought this case was interesting. While it's true that Rusty had 100% emotionally and verbally abused Jessica in the past, it was also rumored that she went toe to toe with him pretty often. There
mm,
is no proof that she was physical, but definitely screaming, abuse, fighting, all of that. And some people did say, oh, yeah, she'd like get in his face or she'd push him or whatever. I don't know. But the prosecution, when they decided to charge her with first degree murder, clung to this along with a lot of other shit.
yeah,
And I'm gonna kind of just I'm gonna outline the prosecution's case so you can kind of
okay,
get the point of what they're trying to say. So first they point out Rusty had not had a drink or used drugs in many months, essentially since he and Jessica split and since she moved out of the house. He had been like a big drinker and a big drug user up to that point. So they were like,
okay.
he's turned over a new leaf. He had
Yeah, and I'm sure
started
that fed into his violent behavior, right? Like, surely.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Um, so he'd also started his own business. He had about $30,000 for a business loan that he started a business with this close friend. And obviously, the bank believed in him to give him that kind of a loan. And he was just doing really well for a change. The prosecutors also
Yeah,
tried to point out that her string of bad relationships means, basically they were blaming the victim. They were also
right.
slut shaming her for having kids with multiple men,
Yeah,
all this bad shit.
classic.
Yeah. Now, these are just things they use to sort of tarnish her reputation in general. And that's shady and gross, but it's not even half the story because there's a lot more. They
Okay.
also said that even though Jessica had been abused, now that Rusty was sober, there's no way he would have hurt her. They said that Jessica came back to see Rusty with the intention of killing him. That's why she planned to leave the girls with a family member. That's why she went to the ex afterwards and gave him the paperwork. They said that she did this because she thought that as his legal wife, because the divorce wasn't finalized, she would be entitled to the business loan he had taken out if he died. And
Uh,
so it makes sense that she would have killed him the night before they were going to finalize the divorce as a last ditch effort to get that money. And they
Looks less
pointed
self-defense-y too,
it
doesn't it? When
does,
there's money. When
yes,
there's money.
when there's money. They pointed to a few things to back this up. First, her own fucking biological mother told police that Jessica had mentioned the money to her on several occasions, like leading up to when this happened. Like, oh, I'm going to get that money
Mhm.
from him. He's going to pay me that. Like, that's going to my girls. So that doesn't look good. To me,
No.
uh, that could mean that she was going to get it from him in court, like during the
W
divorce. Like, I'm going to fucking,
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like, wives take their husbands to the cleaners all the time, and vice versa
Right.
during divorce proceedings.
And if he's abusive, she could be saying that out of like, "Fuck him, I'm gonna take everything I can," you know?
Exactly. Exactly. And, so I don't know, but I understand how that could also look bad. They had some
Yeah.
good points because so far none of this is convincing, like to me, really. But what they do have that is not just like woman hating, victim blaming bullshit is that she had recently bought the gun used to kill Rusty, like, I don't know, a week prior to killing
Mm,
him.
yeah.
Yeah. So they have the conversations about the money. They have her dropping the girls off. They have her stopping by the ex's house. They have her buying the gun. They also said that she was tricking Rusty into thinking they may reconcile because up to the day before they met up, she had actively been trying to have him arrested for violating his parole for illegally running his business out of his home, which I guess you weren't allowed to do at the time in Arizona, which maybe you
Okay.
still can. I don't know. So this does kind of look bad, admittedly, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
there's some bad. They also, and I'm obviously going from like least convincing to most, but they also pointed
Mhm.
out that Randy was shot in the back and had fallen in a way that indicated he had been running away when he was shot.
Mhm. Okay.
And that's kind of like agreed upon.
Not not self-defense.
No, no. So that's pretty fucking bad. They also, of course, noted that she fled to Mexico, but
Mhm.
I don't know. I'll get into why that's not super convincing to me in a second. So now we kind of know what the prosecution's saying. Let's see what the defense has to say. So the defense says that yes, Rusty had been sober, but Jessica had not experienced any of that, and the way he behaved solo was no indication of how he would behave with her. So it's very possible that he did try to hit her, or he did hit her, while he
Right.
was sober. They might still fight, and it's not like he probably wasn't drunk every single time they fought during their marriage, right? Like that's
Yeah, you can definitely
ridiculous to
still
think.
be sober and be an asshole for sure.
Yeah, so that whole point to me doesn't even make sense. They
Yeah.
also pointed to the fact that Jessica had gone back to him many times, even right after getting a restraining order. So it's very likely she could be convinced to come and try to reconcile, especially the night before the divorce was to be finalized. So, like, maybe she was still angry and like, fuck this guy and calling to try to get him arrested. Meanwhile, he's in her
Yeah.
ear, sweet talking her, and she finally gives in, just as she'd done before. She would get angry, she would call the cops. She would get angry, she would get the restraining order. Then she would calm down. She wouldn't be angry anymore. He'd promised to change. And next thing you know, they're back together. And clearly they
Yeah.
were in contact because she knew about, this business. So he was likely telling her again, like always, how he'd changed, right?
Well, and the constantly getting back together with him thing is a constant thing for abused people, abused
Yes.
women, so it's
Hmm.
like it's a classic pattern.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think that her showing up there or any of that really was like a good indication that she was
No.
doing anything intentionally.
No.
The defense also pointed to the long history of violence and that like I said, he very did likely hit her that night. Even if he was running away when she shot him, it could have been one of those split second decisions on her part. Like he could have been coming at her and then she pulls the gun out and he turns around as she's shooting him. You know what I mean? Like it could have been
Yeah.
a split second thing. And also like her buying the gun for protection from a man who regularly beat her was like kind of fair. Like I don't
Right.
really like why do you buy a gun? You know?
Right. She could just have been afraid in general.
Yeah. And she shouldn't have
Right.
met up with him, but like that's just making a bad decision. That's not premeditating murder. They also pointed to the fact that she very clearly left the house in a panic and didn't do anything to stage or hide the murder. Like the
Mhm.
single bullet was still there. Also, like she shot him in the back with a single bullet. That's not like a guaranteed kill shot. You know what I mean?
No, that's true.
Like she could have shot him in the shoulder and he was fine. She could have shot him in the back and he would have had a collapsed lung but could have called, 911. It sounds like she
Or
just happened to
or
Mhm.
Or if she walked up and shot him in the head, there's your not self-defense move right there.
Right, exactly. It's like, obviously, this is more of like a heat of the moment type of thing.
Yeah.
She also, she didn't try to, like I said, she didn't stage or hide the murder, which shows like the lack of planning. They also noted that she came back into the United States because when she ran, it was not a planned thing. She didn't have anywhere to go. She had to come back. So she
Yeah.
wasn't, you know what I mean? Like, none of this was planned. It's like, if this was planned, why would she go to Mexico for like a few days and then cross back over? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, it was
none of this
poorly
makes sense.
planned if it was.
Exactly. Exactly. The prosecution, like I said, they tried to say it was about the money because, oh, here's the other reason. She stole Rusty's credit cards and IDs or ID. And so they're like, well,
Okay,
she was in it for the money, but none of them were used at any point after she left the house. So it's like, yeah,
gotcha.
she took them, but she didn't do anything with them. And so that's another, to me, that's her like panicking. Like, fuck, I need money. What do I do? And then like doesn't use them. One final thing that the prosecution said, because besides that he was shot in the back, that really probably put a lot of doubt into the jury's minds, and I saved this for last because I want to see what you think, was that Jessica had actually been present and was the one who called the police after her ex killed himself.
Mm,
So she was
okay,
there when it happened. And they're trying to
okay.
say this is the second dead man in her presence that she's been in a relationship
Right.
with. So they're trying to play out this like Black Widow situation, right?
But she didn't flee from that. She didn't act the same way. Like, she was just like, "Hey, this is a suicide."
No,
Like,
and they determined it was a suicide. So it's just like it's just
yeah,
one of those things
yeah,
they're trying to do, right?
yeah.
So anyway, tons of witnesses were called. They all confirmed there had been years of abuse. Rusty was in and out of work, always on drugs or drinking. Their relationship was fucking horrible. Some other people came forward and said, "Yeah, I think Jessica probably just wanted his money, however she could get it." But like there was not a lot to back that up besides people just being like, "Well, she mentioned the money to me, so that's what it is, right?" But that's it, and as you can
Yeah.
guess, we're in Arizona, so she was
Mhm.
found guilty of first-degree murder and given 25 to life. She will be eligible for parole in 2032, I think, and I do think she'll
Okay.
probably get out.
It's
Um,
possible, yeah.
yeah, yeah. As to why I was really annoyed by Rusty's mom, I listened to, like, an interview with her, and she's the type of woman that was excusing Rusty's garbage fucking behavior, like, not really like,
Oh
"Well, he was getting
gosh.
better, and she's also one of those people that just sounds like like, cry talks, do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
every time you talk to her, she's just so upset, and I'm like, "You have to fucking stop."
Oh,
Like, that
no.
kinda
Yeah,
shit, and it's like,
that's tough.
if your son wasn't a total piece of shit, like, maybe I would understand, but, like, he was the worst, you
Yeah,
know? And I don't personally for a minute doubt that he hit her that night.
yeah.
Also, one other thing is the ex's testimony was brought into question because of his motives at, like, maybe wanting the girls. So it was like, maybe she did go see him, but, like, he had motivations for putting her in prison so he could take the kids. Um, so
Yeah.
anyway, that's it. I mean, also, like, 30K is not that much money, even in
No.
2007, like, it really wasn't. Um, so I don't know, what do you think? Do you think she did it for the money or just out of
I
anger or
mean, it is a little ambiguous. I mean, I think no doubt that he was abusive, and
yeah.
like you said, I fully believe he could have been abusive that very night, but, like, I don't know, did sh in the moment, did she shoot him in the back because she was like, "Fuck it, I want the money and I can claim self-defense?" Like, honestly, maybe.
I don't think it was either self-defense or a planned murder. I think she had the gun because she was pissed and scared and
Mhm.
like fuck this guy. I don't think she got it with the intention of killing him. I think she got it with the intention of showing it to him and being like fuck you. But I
Yeah.
also think that maybe she has a temper and she shot him
Yeah.
in anger.
Yeah, like, just a true second degree, like, heat of the
True second
moment
degree. Yes, that's what I
thing.
think it was.
Yeah.
If I had been the defense, I probably would have tried that because I feel honestly like
Yeah.
that is more likely what it was. And but it's like the case I covered where what's her name shot and killed her dad while he was like asleep. And she went to prison for life at age 19 and she was pardoned because she proved like I was abused by this man my whole fucking life. And it's like you know, Jessica was abused by Rusty their entire fucking relationship. So it's not a lot different, you know.
Yeah.
But anyway, I don't know.
No, it's very ambiguous and
It
like
is.
not a clear answer.
Yes. I liked this one for that.
Oh my gosh. Yeah,
Either
for
way, she'll
sure.
probably get out. She'll probably get out.
Yeah, I mean, she's a white lady too, so it helps in
Yeah, yeah,
Arizona.
yeah, yeah. That always helps. And
Um,
she's cute, so that'll help too. For sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh my
All
goodness.
right.
Okay.
Woo! It's a big
Um,
yawn. What are you doing? Oh, also, I think
so,
I already told you this, but I want to tell all of our listeners. My kid
mm,
found a black widow that was like the size of a
oh
fucking
God.
$50. If anybody knows what a
No.
$50 is, it's like 2 quarters.
Okay,
In
I
our
just had to
fucking
visualize
house.
it.
I'm sorry. It was so big it had trouble walking because its like ass was so big. We
How did it
killed
get
it
so chonky? How did that
because it was
spider get so fat?
hiding under my fucking credenza for like God knows how long, which I really hate because I'm like in and out of that fucking credenza. I sit on the floor. Our fucking board games are under there, like chilling with that fucking
Mm,
spider. Anyway, it
I
was
hate
really
that.
made me very, very angry and scared and
Ooh.
like goosebumpy.
And
Anyway,
now are you feeling them everywhere? Are you feeling like spider tickles and
yes.
like,
Oh my God, but it was so cute. Ollie did too. Like something touched him, like the rug, like rubbed
yeah,
against it. He was like, "Ah!" And he's like, "Oh, I thought I felt something." I was like, "Yeah, dude."
it's like in
But
Indiana Jones and they go like that, like air on your legs. You're like, ah,
ugh, ugh. Dude, no. Oh my God. So
hate it.
gnarly. Hate it. Thanks. Hate that for us in our house. Um,
Whew.
anyway,
Okay.
all right. What's your case? What's your case?
So mine, I'm like 99% sure that you know this case because it's like on every crime show and Dateline ever, and it's the
Okay.
case of Byron David Smith, a guy who claims self-defense, and he is a colossal dingus, and this is a really angering case.
It's not the movie theater one, is it? Because I did that one a
No,
long time ago. Okay. Okay.
no, actually, I could have sworn I did this one, but I haven't. I like triple checked, and like I just know it so well from like
Okay.
the Dateline. So,
So you picked
this
another one to
happened.
piss us off?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's true
Um,
diva fashion. All right.
this happened in Little Falls, Minnesota in 2012. Nicholas Brady and Haley Kiefer are 18 and 17-year-old cousins. I didn't, for some reason, write down like a ton about them, but in the Dateline, their like mom and sister, or Nick's mom and sister, I believe, are kind of like talking about how they love to go fishing and do outdoor stuff in their normal
Mm-hmm.
teens, and kind of just talking fondly about them. But clearly, based on this story, they also had gotten into some, let's say, criming and
Crime.
some uncouth activities in their adolescence,
Okay.
that
I like that.
are a bit more advanced than the average rebellious teen. But I didn't hear too much about like building up to that or what made them get into this. I know
Mm-hmm.
they're using drugs and stuff, but it's like I didn't hear too much about like the background.
Okay.
But we're just gonna zoom in to yeah, it is kind of by the way, there's kind of like a disconnect to me too in these pictures of like all the pictures of Nick Brady and Haley Kiefer. They look like the most wholesome, like we're the football player and cheerleader, like they look like the
Mm-hmm.
most wholesome, cutesy teenagers. But it's
Mm-hmm.
like clearly they were also up to some shit. So there's definitely a couple things happening with them.
Okay. I had a cousin like that. He looked so fucking wholesome, and I
Yeah,
looked like a little fucking dirty rat. And like I was always the cousin that everybody's like, "Oh, she's like doing bad things," and like he was fucking crazy. And yes, I was selling pot, but like whatever. Like I still wasn't as
it
bad
was
as
the
he
wholesome
was.
one though who was worse.
He was
Um,
fucking nuts. Anyway, I was just a businesswoman
yeah,
at a young age. Okay, go on. Sorry.
businesswoman, CEO of a small
Yeah,
business.
of Cindy's pot closet.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about 64-year-old Byron David Smith. Um, he was a Vietnam War veteran and a retired U.S. State Department worker. Nick had actually once done yard work, Nick Brady,
Mm-hmm.
at a previous summer, as a teenager, along with a group of other teen friends of his. And Byron had a good relationship with the group for a while. He let them come and go on his property. He fed them. They kind of did odd jobs and yard work around the property and in the house. But one
Okay.
summer they had a falling out, and that was due. All I could find about why that was is that they quote unquote messed up his tractor. So there was some kind of tractor incident, and he just didn't hire them again.
Okay, so you didn't hire them, but was there like a serious falling out, or was it just like, okay, I'm not hiring you guys anymore?
I think he probably was like, "Hey, you kids messed up my tractor." That's what I'm imagining in my head.
Right. Little
Um,
Clint Eastwood action where he's, like, crotchety as
yeah, but
fuck.
he
Yeah,
he just didn't hire them again. Yeah, for any
got it.
work. So Byron here recently becomes we're in our moment here. We're in fall 2012. He had become very rattled by a series of break-ins where intruders took thousands of dollars in cash and his guns and a couple family heirlooms and valuable items. So he's bothered.
He's rattled.
Um,
Yeah, absolutely.
it will later be proven, I'm not burying the lead because it's going to come up instantly, that
Okay.
Nicholas and Haley, the two cousins, were doing the break-ins.
Ooh, okay. Alright.
Yeah.
So they're
Yeah.
shitheads. They're shitheads.
Yeah, it's not
They
great.
are. No.
That's not a cool thing to be doing.
Right.
So Byron gets increasingly afraid and paranoid, especially because in his mind they stole the guns, so these robbers are gonna come back and shoot him with his own gun. That's what he thinks.
Right.
So he
Mhm.
sets up a fancy lock, like the kind you see in an Airbnb, with a passcode for his house. He puts security cameras up everywhere. Those things I think are pretty fair given what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
But significantly, and I really want to like highlight, underscore, bold this statement. He never calls police or reports anything over the several months that these break-ins were occurring.
Okay, so he just, like, starts this, like, fever dream of his own about,
Hmm.
like, what's happening, doesn't tell okay, I mean, it's very much like, old army man to just be like, "I'm gonna
Yeah.
handle it myself." Once again, like, refer to Clint Eastwood in his, like, last,
Hmm.
like, 10 roles, you know? Very
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
Ugh,
So that is just a really important note that will come up
okay,
later.
okay.
Um, how do you not know this case yet?
Mm-mm.
Really?
I
Okay.
don't. I don't
Oh
know
my
why.
God. All right. So November 22nd, it's my birthday. Yay. It's Thanksgiving. Uh, the security cameras capture Nick Brady kind of casing the house.
Oh, I do know
Um,
this
tr-
one. Okay,
okay.
sorry.
I was
It
waiting
just took
for
to
it.
right there. It took to right there, but yes, I do know it. Okay.
I was waiting for it. Um,
Yeah.
they show him casing the house, trying to break one of the cameras, and then smashing in a window and entering through the basement.
Okay.
Um, yeah. Later, the cameras will show Haley entering the house as well, and I'm gonna follow up on what happened in just 0.2 seconds.
Okay.
Their families became really concerned when they didn't show up for Thanksgiving dinner that day. Unbeknownst, they were not aware of what they were up to.
Yeah.
They couldn't get a hold of them, and so they filed missing persons reports. However, it's a loud ass plane.
Oh, I can't hear
Can
anything.
you can't hear it? Okay.
There's the loud plane over where you are. That's weird. I'm the
Yeah,
one
it
who
sounds like
like
a
lives under
helicopter.
the
It's more like a
airport.
helicopter.
Oh, might be a
That sounds like it's a police
helicopter.
helicopter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
All right. So not that long after, though, they get the news that their children have been shot and killed, and they are in the home of Byron David Smith.
Oof, he killed both of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wait,
So
what state is
although
this in?
Minnesota.
Okay.
So, although this may seem at first like kind of a cut and dry, straightforward case of someone protecting himself and his home, and like,
Mhm.
okay, well, they broke in, right? Fuck them. Like, that's kind of like at first what people might think. However, pause right there, everyone. Um, and like we said, they are dicks for breaking into
Dicks.
his house. However, there's a lot of red flags that make these shooting deaths unusual. First of all, they realized quickly that Byron waited a whole ass day before calling to report that he shot two people.
Okay. Yeah.
He said he didn't want to bother, quote unquote, the cops on Thanksgiving, which, my man, they're working.
Yeah, they're not staying at home even if you don't call. They're out doing their thing.
They're on the job. Yeah, they
Yeah.
don't get days off.
No.
Um and when they questioned him and get his story, there's also like just red flags abounding. He's
Mhm.
super cold and composed. He is like kind of
Not scared.
into No, exactly. And he's into recounting how he shot the two teens. He says that when Haley entered, his gun initially jammed as he was trying to shoot her, and she laughed at him. And he said, quote, "If you're trying to shoot somebody and they laugh at you, you go again."
Okay, so how is that self-defense?
That's the first of many such things we're going to hear from Byron. They are going to get wilder and wilder.
Oh my god.
He coldly describes how when he realized Haley wasn't dead, he went back and shot her again, and he actually ended up shooting Nick 3 times and Haley 6 times in total. And
Jesus
most of those
Christ, what
shots
a
were to the
psycho.
face. Most of those shots were to the head and chest.
What a psycho.
So they're all kill shots, essentially.
Yeah, because he's a psycho.
Yes.
Yes.
And if you hadn't guessed, the 2 teens were also unarmed.
Right,
So they
of course they
didn't
were.
actually pose a threat to him.
And he knew
Um,
them.
yeah,
That's the other thing. It's like he knew
he knew
them.
them. Yes.
He could have just been like, "Get the fuck
Uh,
out of my house."
yeah, Nick, what the fuck? He could have literally spoken to him.
Yeah, and he's the one with the gun, so he could have like marched him out
Yeah.
with the gun. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't want to keep interrupting, but like, come on. I'm not gonna like
So
where this goes, I know.
a few months later, in 2013, Byron was charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder.
Good.
And I'll explain why it's first in just a second as well.
Okay.
Byron Smith, of course, claims self-defense because under a Minnesota he planned this because under a
Mhm.
Minnesota law referred to as castle doctrine, you do have the right to use deadly force to defend your home if you believe your life is in jeopardy.
He obviously didn't. He obviously didn't. Is she gonna laugh at him to death? Like, come on. Come on.
So, just to hint at, I will kind of break this apart as we go, but a super Republican advocate guy for Castle Doctrine who was interviewed in the press actually said, like, this is not that. Like, right away.
Wow,
Because,
really?
yeah, even the most hardcore advocates, some of them were like, no. Because past that first shot, it's not
You're
anymore.
just murdering someone.
Yeah.
It's not.
The extra shots are what
If
made it
they're
not.
immobilized, you're done. Like, that's
Yes.
it. Oh my
He
god.
made them not a threat,
When
right?
I realized she wasn't dead, I made sure to murder her even though she was no longer a threat. No
Yes.
more self-defense. That's it. That's the end of the
Yeah.
story.
Under castle doctrine, you can also defend yourself, but you can't premeditate a plan to murder. It has to be an in the moment kind of snap decision, right? And this asshole knew. Byron Smith absolutely knew who it was breaking into his house ahead of time. And he did not get police involved so that he could lay this trap and murder them.
Wow. How did he know? Because cameras?
I believe so. And just because of, the relationship,
Right.
I'm not
Right.
sure if he knew 100%, but he strongly suspected.
So he wanted to murder these 2 teenagers.
He was planning to murder the people breaking into his house, period, full stop. And like that, and use this defense.
Oof. That's so scary. Our
So
country is so fucked up. Oh my god.
they're doing the robberies, but he is planning a murder in return, essentially.
Right. Right. But
So
people in this country fucking value money over human lives.
stuff
So,
over people.
yeah, stuff over people.
For sure. For sure.
Capitalism. Okay.
Whew, this gets a lot worse.
Yes, it does,
So at trial, the excessive gruesomeness and the calculatedness behind these murders come out into even greater focus. So prosecutors described how Byron moved his car so it looked like he wasn't home, so they would come.
Oh my god, he trapped them.
Then he went into his basement with guns along with granola bars, water, and a book so he could literally lie in wait for the teens and to wait as long as he had to for them to break in. He planned to be there for as long as he needed to. And also, like, that is a separate crime. It's called lying in wait.
Yeah, that's literally a crime by itself.
Lying in wait. Yes.
Jesus Christ.
And he also, this is elaborate, brought a cell phone jamming device with him that was very fancy and high end and would actually have prevented the teens from using their phones to call for help.
Oh my god. This is like one of the most, this guy's like, could be a serial killer. Honestly.
Yeah.
Like,
And in the first round of interview, when he gets there initially to the interrogation, he kind of makes it sound like, oh, I was just sitting reading a book in my basement, just in. And it's like,
as
no,
one
my friend,
does, like,
you were lying in wait.
yeah,
Like that's what you were doing. We
with a
know.
cell phone jammer. Jesus Christ.
Okay, here we are. He also brought an audio recorder, which he used to record essentially him murdering Nick and Haley. And in this audio, which was played for the court, and you can listen to in its entirety online, and I did for research, I guess, but it's fucked up. Here's what you hear. So much, so much. You hear glass shattering. That's Nick coming down to the basement,
Mhm.
followed by gunshots and Nick groaning in pain.
Oh god.
Uh, Bryon says, "You're dead."
Mm.
And then we can hear him drag Nick's body with a tarp out of sight because he also moved the body so that Haley wouldn't get there,
Wouldn't
see
know
him,
it
and
was
run.
there. This is,
Yes.
oh my god. Oh my god.
Yes. Yes. So he hides the body to kind of lure her into the basement, lies in wait for about 10 minutes, waiting for Haley to come.
Yeah.
We hear Haley approaching and go, Nick, because she's
Oh,
looking for him. And you hear gunshots, and Haley screaming. His gun jams, and by the way, she doesn't fucking laugh at any
he
point.
doesn't. I didn't
Um,
think so. I didn't
no,
fucking think so.
no. She's screaming in terror. His gun jams, and he sarcastically says, "Oh, I'm sorry about that," before he continues to shoot.
Fucking hell.
She can be heard pleading with him, saying, "Oh my god, I'm sorry." And you're hearing her get murdered. It is
Yeah.
really horrifying.
Yeah.
It's
Fuck.
really gruesome. And before the final gunshot, we hear Smith say, "You're dying," and then a pause, and then goes, "Bitch."
Oh, fuck him. Fuck him. What a
So the 17-year-old
fucking
girl,
piece
yeah.
of shit. What a fucking piece of dog shit.
By the way, when he was bragging in the initial interview, and he said, "Oh, I didn't think she was fully dead yet, so I walked over and I gave her a good, clean finishing shot." That's what he said.
This guy, he's crazy. He's
He shot her in
crazy.
the left eye,
He's fucking like
point blank. Yeah.
the fat woo. And he's like, I'm gonna get like I actually believe that he is probably suffering from some sort of terrible something. It may
Mhm.
be white male entitlement, but it could be
That's
something else.
definitely there. That's
That's
definitely there.
definitely part of it.
Oh yeah, he's
But
got this
just
illness called entitlement of being
yeah,
white and an old white man.
yeah.
Um,
Holy fuck, dude.
yeah. There's also a lot of Byron talking to himself before and after the murders. About a half hour before the murders, he actually is rehearsing calling his lawyer.
Oh my
So
god.
premeditated much.
Yeah.
Um,
Jesus
and this is really
Christ.
disturbing to me. You can also hear him mumbling out of the blue. He just says, "In the left eye," which is exactly where he
Oh
shot
my
her.
god.
He
Oh
was
my
planning
god.
where in the face he was going to
He was
shoot
gonna
them.
shoot her.
Yeah.
Was she even 18?
No, I believe she was 17 years old. As a child.
So he murdered a child. What a
After
fucking
the
piece of
murders,
shit.
pretty, I'd say a minute or so after killing Haley, he says, "Cute. I'm sure she thought she was a real pro."
Oh, what the fuck is wrong with this man?
Pretty
L-
not that long after that in the recording, he goes on a little bit of ramblings, and I will not even repeat all of it, but here's just some highlights to just make your blood boil. Real testimony to this man's mindset, and frankly, the mindset of a lot of fucking people. Quote, "I don't see them as human," Byron says. "I see them as vermin."
Yeah, because they were taking his property. They're
No,
vermin
but
who need to die.
people in this country are comfortable with the criminal justice system we have because they see criminals as not people.
Right. People actually
So it's
believe that
very
if you
common.
steal something from somebody, you
You
should be
deserve to
put to
die.
death. And what's
Yes.
really interesting to me
Yes,
is those
they
same
do.
people are like the Middle East, they're fucking Islam, and it's
Mhm.
like, and they're like, they'll cut your hand off for stealing. And I'm like, but you're
But you'd like to
down,
do that.
Yeah, like, you're fine with
You're
that when we
clearly
do
down with
it.
it. Yeah.
Like, you have no
Mhm.
problem with that. They
Yeah,
deserve to die. Like,
we just
yes, a
make it look
17
cuter.
yeah,
Yeah.
a 17-year-old absolutely deserves to be, like, brutally murdered for breaking into a house. I definitely think that that's fair, and they definitely shouldn't be, given due process or go to court or face anything like that. It should just be
Any
whoever's in
charges,
the
yeah.
house that wants to fucking kill them should totally do that. People think that way, and it is terrifying. It
Well,
is
yeah.
terrifying.
Yeah, and I was gonna say this at the end, but I will say it again, but, like, on the comments on anything about this story or on the TikToks or on the media presence and all across the board, people 1000% think these kids should have been murdered because they broke into his house. Ignoring all the other things about how he set it up and ignoring all the other details and the fact that they were unarmed, people are like, "Oh, you broke into someone's house? You should die." And I'm like, "How
I
is that your logic?"
I truly believe like, I really hope that those people never have children. They just see when they die, the bloodline dies with them. Like, what are we teaching people in this
It's
country
so
that, like,
scary. It's so scary.
I hate to I know I always say this, but, like, it stems from capitalism. Like, it really
Mhm.
does. Like, we value things over people. Do you know how many people die horrible deaths so that people who already have enough money to last 10 lifetimes can just have a little more? And people are
Mhm.
fine with that. And
Yeah.
that is why this happens. Oh, it makes me so mad. God damn
Here
it.
we go. Just on that note, here's more quotes from Byron.
Oh,
He
good.
says, I refuse to live in fear." He does some nonsensical ramblings. He says, quote, "I am not a bleeding heart liberal. I felt like I was cleaning up a mess, not like spilled food, not like vomit, not even like diarrhea, the worst mess possible. And I was stuck with it. In some tiny little respect, I was doing my civic duty."
Don't kid yourself there, jackass. Like, are you fucking kidding me? You're not doing any civic duty. You're a fucking murderer. You're a
This is an art.
psychopath
Yeah.
who planned a
This,
double murder. Like,
This is an army guy. This is a guy who did like secret agent shit. And so he's really, I think, got a huge ego. And in the
yes.
first interview he has with cops, he goes all into his past exploits working for the government and going to foreign countries and doing like spy shit. And so I really think he's playing out a fantasy too of like, I'm this really important guy. Everything I do is super special. And it's like,
I was just
like
gonna
an
say he's
action
probably like
movie.
touching himself while he's explaining it to them, like getting
He
off on like
probably
his
like
own
hopped
like
upstairs and watched like the fucking Bourne Identity movies or something. Like he really thinks he's super cool. He's,
yeah.
he probably had a
What a f-
decorative sword.
he probably
He's
did. What
yeah,
a
like he's
fucking
that kind
loser.
of guy.
God
Um,
damn him.
Amazingly, he actually said that he did this recording because he thought it would exonerate him.
Thank
Um,
God. Thank God. Well, I don't know. Hopefully it didn't, but like I'm glad he did that.
but actually, thank fuck, I'm glad I'm ending on a happy note. He is found guilty despite his fucking certainty that he was going to get off on this. And I'm sure with a different judge, hand of fate, different, I don't know, fucking
If the
state, he would
kids
have.
were not white.
Ah, there it is. Oh
If
yeah.
the kids
Oh
were not
yeah.
white, because
Oh
they
yeah.
are white as could be. You
And they
started
didn't
with
look like
that, like that
they
they were
didn't look
like
like the
this.
most wholesome cheerleader,
Mhm.
cute, adorable
Mhm.
kids, and
Yep.
putting up those pictures.
Because
Yeah.
they did.
No,
They look like perfect kids.
yes. No, that's a very good point. Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
Very, very good point.
Mhm.
Um, yeah. So if a few choice things had been different like that, I think he very much would have gotten off. And I'm
Absolutely.
sure yeah. But thank God he is actually found guilty, and I just love it. I love that for him.
I
I
do.
love that he was
What I
wrong.
love I love that he's in prison, but more than anything, I love that I guarantee you every single day he wakes up and is so fucking pissed that he
Yeah.
got convicted because he
Yeah.
doesn't deserve to be in there and he was so sure he wasn't going
Mhm.
to. That alone is enough. Like,
Yes.
that makes me so happy.
He's really mad to the end. Yeah.
Yes.
He's given 2 sentences of life without parole, so he is found guilty of
Uh,
first-degree murder, which
amazing.
is awesome.
It's because exactly what the fuck it is.
It was, yeah. He appealed his conviction many times, of course,
Uh,
like you said, he was very
the
mad.
joy. Yep.
Um,
Yep.
yeah, and he took his appeals very high, and even in 2021, it went to the Supreme Court because he kept going, and they said, "Nah." They denied his appeal as well. No, no thanks. So
I
I think
love
he's
that.
probably run out if he's done that, right?
That makes me so happy. I'm so happy to hear that.
He tried really hard.
And he failed really fucking hard.
He
So fuck
failed.
him. Fuck
Yeah,
him.
but what makes me really upset about this case though is like I said that how disturbing it is not just for him as a person, but like
Yeah.
the many Byrons that would have gotten off or did get off in this situation,
Hmm.
like the popcorn
That
guy
do. The popcorn guy, yeah. Cause he was a cop.
and yeah, and he still has so many defenders. There's a Twitter account called Free Byron David Smith. There's a
Oh,
Facebook called
thank you so much for telling me that because I get bored sometimes. So just gonna
there's
go
also a
troll.
Facebook page you should also visit, Cindy, called Byron David Smith is a Hero.
Ah,
Um,
oh my god, yes. Oh my god,
and
yes.
like I said, any story about this, any Facebook, any post with the comment box on about this case has so many fucking dweebs who all probably themselves also have decorative swords in their fucking houses, okay? And they are all on there being like, "Ew, they broke into his house. They deserve what they got. He's a hero, blah, 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 blah." And I'm like,
Mm-mm.
man,
Nope.
just go play with
Nope.
your swords and shut up. Leave me
I'm
alone.
on the Facebook page right now. It makes me so happy. There's so many
Yeah,
laugh reacts to it. Oh, these people are here with me. I'm
it's
so excited.
it's embarrassing. And
Oh,
like I said, there are arch right wing Republican, super, super, super right wing like advocates for this law for castle doctrine who even they were like, this is not that. This is not what this law was for. This guy
yeah.
took it too far. Even people who agree with it most of the time are like, no, this guy clearly took it too far. And you know
Yeah.
what is great too is he said the recording was going to exonerate him, but when they
Mhm.
interviewed the jury afterwards, they all said, hands down, slam dunk, it was the recording. Like it,
That's interesting and good to know because I mean it
like
proves
they may or
it.
may not, but they honestly, some of them were like, I was on the fence, and the recording did it. Like this proves this guy is a psycho. Like
And but I mean honestly without the recording, some of what you led with, we may not have
hmm
known. So if
yeah,
you really think about it and the recording wasn't there, we wouldn't have known that he moved the body necessarily. We
hmm
wouldn't have known that she didn't laugh. We wouldn't have
yeah.
known that he was like practicing. We wouldn't have known any of that
He could have
stuff.
made the story up a little bit more, you
Yeah.
know.
He could have done
Yeah.
a lot and even like the fact that that was what turned them knowing all the other things that they knew, like again, they wouldn't have known that. So I could absolutely see how he could have got away with it. And it would have been more ambiguous for sure had he not done that.
And also, I think people who, if you did like a self defense murder, people really want to hear someone be more rattled, or like more
Yeah.
bothered or calling the cops right away, that kind of thing. And like, I think what did it for people from the interviews that they gave was like how much he like reveled in it too. He was
He
like
was stoked.
loving this
Yeah.
murder. And
Yeah.
it's like, if you're trying to argue you were in fear of your life, that's not what you want to be acting like.
Yeah. You don't wanna be like yeah,
You want to be
no.
pumped about it.
Yeah, like stoked and like bragging. Like weirdly,
It's
like you're in
gross.
your 60s. Why what are you doing? Like
And
grow up.
yeah, it sucks that these kids were doing fucking B&Es or break-ins, like it sucks. But it like they also deserved to maybe get hit with minor charges for it and maybe reform themselves and move on with their lives. Like they deserved to have more than this in their life.
Yeah. I never stole from people. I never stole from anybody that I knew. The only thing I ever did was like I stole developed film from a drugstore. That's like really the only thing I've ever stolen. But
It's
I
kind of
like I
fun.
said, yeah, it was great.
It's kind of fun to
Uh
see people's photos.
yeah. No, 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 they were my friends' photos. I just didn't want to pay for them. So the
Oh,
place that I used to
oh,
go
okay.
get them, I wouldn't steal photos from somebody. I stole the money for developing from a corporation. So I feel great about it. But like even if I had like I said, I sold pot. Like, should I be shot in the face and like murdered at fucking 15 years old or whatever? Like, no,
No.
absolutely not.
And
If you think I
yeah,
should, you're a terrible person. Like straight up.
I'm sorry, like 95% of human beings on Earth did some criminal shit as a teenager. Like, we all deserve to survive that like phase in our life. Um,
Yeah, agree.
so
Agreed.
yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah. Anyway, whatever. And the funny thing is that these people who act that way, like when their kids fuck up, they're like, "Well, it's a lesson learned." And it's like, dude, if this wasn't your kid, you'd be saying like, "Shoot him in the face." It's like people are just the worst. Anyway, thanks for listening, people. I feel terrible. Like I'm like, everybody sucks. I'm like, why? I should probably be quiet. It's just frustrating that how
It
short-sighted
is.
people can be. It's hard.
But
But I'm
yeah, but it's a
glad he went to
it's an
prison.
interesting case, and it's frustrating. And like I said, I get even more mad at him. I get more mad at the supporters who are like, "This guy's great."
Yeah, it's like, no, there's something deeply. You're broken.
No.
Seek help immediately.
Also, it reminded me of like several of our TikToks were like this. So when I did the TikTok about the teenagers who were
Yeah.
like 16 years old and they killed their teacher with like a baseball bat, which granted is like insane. It's like
Fucking
super disgusting.
horrific. Yeah.
They were like every single comment, because I don't know, I forget how I said it. I won't belabor the point, but basically every single comment was like, murder those teens.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
like, look, this is gross what they did. I'm not saying it's chill. Like, they should probably go to prison, but y'all are gross. You know, like, you guys
Like,
are
where do you
gross.
think they got it from? Like, we learned it from you, society, you know? Like, straight up, we live in a fucking horrifically violent society. That's what happens. Kids don't grow up in a fucking vacuum. Like, they see the world around them and they fucking emulate it.
But if
So,
you're bloodthirsty for teens to die, no matter what they did, like, you got to check yourself. Like, you know,
into
like,
somewhere.
calm down.
Yeah, you're the fucking worst, essentially. Anyway, all right. That's enough of soapboxing, I think. Even though it's basically my favorite thing to do.
It's okay.
What are we doing next week?
Next week. Oh yeah, I wanted to do a topic I decided was summary, because it's a time of road trips and drives and
Yes.
driving through scenic places.
Yeah.
So I wanted to do the killers of the freeway, highway killers. You can
Highway
make some kind of
killer.
song lyric joke like highway star, or like, I don't know, what are all the songs about highways?
The Highwaymen. I wouldn't do that to the Highwaymen, but I could do
There's
that.
lots of songs about freeways and highways.
There are all.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
I'll
we can
ask
workshop some
Rory to give me some. Oh man, I'm looking at the list right now. Oof.
some
So many good
doozies.
ones. Yeah. All right.
Yeah,
This is gonna
yeah.
be a good one, guys. All right. Well, thanks everybody for listening. Sorry we got preachy there, but this type of shit is just really
Yeah,
frustrating.
it
Thanks for
warrants
hanging
it.
tough
Yeah.
with us. And thanks to the people who went and gave us reviews on Spotify. I see you. I see you. Thank you. Our rating went up.
Mhm.
Our ratings
Thank you.
increased. We love you guys. We appreciate you so much for that. And I guess that's it until next week.
Stay.
Off our
Liz.
stay off. I'm sorry you were drinking water when I started that. Bye.
Yeah.